Hello and welcome to Learning Without Limits, week 2. So today's session of Learning Without Limits is all about strengthening home-school partnerships. So I'm going to hand over to our fantastic presenters today, Lenski and Naomi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Philippa, and welcome everyone to week 2 of Learning Without Limits. We are here to try and help support the community as best as we can as Apple Professional Learning Specialists. Myself, Lenski Castley, and Naomi Hunt, my amazing colleague. We have been in the industry for a long time, and we are extremely passionate about technology and how to integrate this. And since COVID, we've been seeing this happening in the classrooms, and now it's lent ourselves to distance learning again, and we are here to kind of refresh and help everyone in the community. So just going to go back to our agenda for today. So as Philippa mentioned, we are talking about strengthening homeschool partnerships. As we know, during distance learning, that's extremely important. It takes two to tango, as they say. So it's not just on the parents or the teachers or the students, it's really a collaborative space, and that makes for the most effective distance learning experience. So on the agenda today, we're just going to look at some UAE expectations for distance learning as this has changed throughout the years. Some tips on strengthening the homeschool partnership, how can we support the learning at home, as well as building a digital community, some healthy screen time and digital habits. And then at the end, I'm going to just demo a few time-saving tips for teachers to use during distance learning, some things that you could use for your asynchronous lessons as well as during live lessons. And then we'll have some time for questions and answers and key takeaways at the end. So I'm now going to hand over to my lovely colleague, Naomi.
Hello, everyone, and yeah.
There we go. Naomi, over to you.
Lovely. Good morning, everyone, and I hope that you're all keeping well. I'm going to start off with this creativity quote. So every child is born full of creativity. I'm just going to allow you to read that, just about how creativity fuels learning, it inspires self-expression, drives innovation. And as you read that, I just want to explain, like, this might feel like something we hear quite often in education, but I think it becomes even more important and even more at risk when we move into distance learning. Because when student learning moves online, something quite subtle can happen, and without really noticing it, learning can start to become more task focused. It's more about this must be completed, so completion, and more about like essentially getting through the content. It can become less about the exploration, the creativity, the thinking, all of these buzzwords that is in education right now. Distance learning can tend to bypass that. And I'm sure many of you have seen this, where students log in, they complete the task, they submit it, and they log off. Job done, halas. And we're left wondering then, like, did students really think about it? Did they engage with it? Did it actually mean something to them? And this is where the home and school partnership becomes incredibly important. In a physical classroom, we can see engagement, we can feel it, but in distance learning, parents are the one who actually see it. So they are the ones who notice whether their child is motivated, frustrated, whether they're rushing, or whether they're actually genuinely engaged. So this creates a really important shift. Parents are no longer just receiving information about learning, they're actually experiencing it alongside their child. Hence, when you're getting an awful lot of the feedback from parents, you want to make, that learning as meaningful as possible online. So instead of focusing on did my child complete the task, we can then shift that conversation to did they think, did they engage, did they create? And that's where our communication as teaching staff becomes so important, because we need to help parents see the value in that. So if we move to the next slide. Okay, so UAE expectations for distance learning. So across the UAE, it's really important that we ground everything. So we ground everything that we're discussing within the UAE context, because while schools may look different across the Emirates, there is that shared expectation of what distance learning should be. It should be, number one, structured, engaging, and centered around well-being and safety. So they may sound like simple words, but they actually do hold a lot of meaning. So if I focus on the first one, so structure, it's not just about rigidity, it is about clarity as well. So our students need to know what they are learning, why they are learning it, and what is expected of them. And again, your learning objective at the beginning of every lesson, and where possible in the teaching slides, keep that going. So when you have or hold it on the screen where possible, because at least then when you have students who are later joining a meeting, instead of you stopping the lesson and re-clarifying what it is, they will have that there, or for younger students like an image or something, just so it can be a bit clearer. Within your teaching lesson then, as you see students joining, you can then naturally integrate what the learning objective or what the WALT is as well. And, you know, so just as importantly for our students, that's also so parents can understand this too. So, I mean, we will find, and it certainly is common parent feedback within the short time we've been on distance learning, that when structure is missing, we're seeing that confusion at home. So you might have a parent saying, like, I don't know what she's supposed to be doing today, or I don't know which platform to check. That's why the confusion then can turn into frustration. And that's, again, by having that clear structure and that clear information for parents and students, it does reduce the uncertainty, and that then lessens what is one of the biggest sources of stress for families with distance learning. The second one, engagement. So distance learning cannot be passive. If students are simply watching, listening, completing tasks without interaction, we're the same as adults. We disengage very quickly. So that is very true of our students. And engagement doesn't need to be complicated. It can be asking questions, you know, again, the critical thinking, responding in the chat if you have that function open. Again, if not, reactions, you know, putting up of hands, enabling microphones, sharing of ideas, and participating in the discussion. But essentially with the engagement, what matters most is that the student feels that they are involved, that they are heard, and that they are seen. So if I move then on to well-being and safety, absolutely central to everything we do. We need to be very mindful of well-being and safety for ourselves as teachers, but for strengthening the school and parent relationships, we need to be very, very mindful of this for our children. If a child is anxious, overwhelmed, tired, disconnected, learning does become secondary. That is their nervous system that kicks in, especially in the stressful times that we're currently undergoing at the moment. So we do need to constantly ask ourselves, are we supporting the whole child or not just the academic outcome? Of course, we have to be mindful. We also as staff have targets that need to be achieved, learning outcomes that need to be ticked off. You know, there's still assessments, there's still reporting, there is all of that as well. So you're balancing this very, very I suppose heavy load, but we cannot ignore the well-being and safety, because if we don't support the whole child, the academic outcome will suffer. So, you know, this is why what we're discussing today, it's not just good practice, it is aligned with high quality distance learning and what it should look like across the UAE. If you are based in Abu Dhabi, ADEC have released the distance learning policy. If you have not already seen it, I would recommend looking out for it or contacting your leadership just to have a perusal, a browse through it, just to see as teachers what is it that you need to be doing. Again, regardless of whether a policy has been shared with you or not, essentially your leadership are very, very well versed in what needs to be done. Any clarification, any confusion, just make sure that you do direct it to them, so you are also clear as well, and it's less stress and for you, and it's more clarity as well. So if we move on to slide 8, which is strengthening the home and school partnership. So we are now at the core of today's session. In distance learning, something can shift quite significantly. So parents are no longer on the outside looking in. They're actually inside the learning process themselves, and that changes everything. So if we look at the first one here, consistent. With consistency, and I'll be honest, this is where many schools can unintentionally cause stress, even though we're all trying to gain the best outcome possibly. So I want you to imagine being a parent at home. You may have 2 or 3 different children. They all have different teachers. There's multiple learning platforms, and there are messages coming in from different directions, from the teachers, from the school, everything. And what you're trying as a parent to figure out is what matters, where do I go, what do I do first? And it can be mind-boggling. Think, we are educators. We're already bamboozled enough with everything that's going on, but we have that background information and knowledge. Our parent community don't, and that in itself is completely overwhelming for them. So consistency becomes essential. What works well, what we find works well, is using one central platform where possible. So what does that mean? Your learning management system. That is what students are used to using. That is where possible, try and keep everything on that. I know you might be using other things such as Zoom or Teams, for your live recording. Whatever you are doing, and if you're assigning work through, especially through Teams, just make sure across whole school, where possible, if you are leadership, keep it as consistent as possible. Okay, within your grade, keep it as consistent as possible. Within your phase, if we have heads of phase here, keep it as consistent as possible. It becomes essential. So avoid using multiple communication channels. We may think, okay, but our parents will receive a notification. No. Again, we know what's going on. They don't. Share, where possible, share weekly updates instead of the daily messages, so we avoid the message fatigue that parents may end up experiencing, that they already are from some reports. And just setting clear expectations such as response times and communications if there is a school policy, or indeed, like I already mentioned, the ADEC policy has clear guidelines on that as well. And when communication is inconsistent, parents just don't know where to look. So again, by consistency, we're building trust, we're reducing confusion. So just as a by note as well, if you have any Q&As, please, as I'm speaking, any clarification, drop them into the box as well, and we'll be able to answer them at the end. Okay, moving on to interaction. So a strong partnership is not just one-way communication, it is a dialogue, which does not have to be complex. You could, with your parents, have a quick poll, survey, check-in, or a question such as, how did your child find this week? You have to be very mindful. You're going to get the negative before you get the positive, and that's okay. I always personally, I consider the negative to be a positive, because that's then where you get the feedback and you get the action, as opposed to this, the surface. Yes, everything's great. It's always next steps. We're always looking to see, especially in a situation like this, how can we evolve and how can we make things easier for our teachers, for our teachers, but also for our parents. When parents feel heard, they feel valued, and when they feel valued, they do engage more. Support. So being supportive. Again, one of the most important, the most often misunderstood elements. Parents don't need more information, more documents, more pressure. They need their clarity, they need simplicity, they need reassurance. Sometimes it is you're doing the absolute best you can. Your child is thriving in this situation as well as they possibly can be. So instead of overwhelming them with say quantity of our communication, we should be then focusing on the quality of what we are sharing. So that means sharing quick tips, providing short guides, have them translated into Arabic, and if you're an international school, where possible, the other languages as well that are in your classroom. That will be invaluable. Use AI tools to help you with this, but get it checked just in case, and the approval that will be needed as per your school. And finally, breaking things down into manageable steps. So instead of explaining everything, we might say, here are 3 simple ways to support your child this week. We're not asking parents to become teachers. We are the teachers, but we are supporting them to support their child. So, and then moving on to engagement. So not all parents engage with long written messages. Like I said, it's quality over quantity. So think carefully about how you communicate with your parents as per your school guideline as well. Short video updates, again with the translations if possible as well. Quick how-to guides, have visuals, amazing visuals, short, snappy, easy wins, infographics, and sharing learning moments where appropriate. Visual communication is easier to understand, it's more accessible, and it's more engaging. Sometimes we do find if you send out the information guide, it reads more like a thesis. Sometimes when you're actually step-by-step a video guide, it really does help our parent community. And let's see, so then, you know, again, beyond communication, we want to build connection. So again, about building those relationships. The last one, safety. Parents need to feel confident that their child is safe, communication is appropriate, and the expectations are clear. Again, I'm probably repeating myself, but it just comes down to clear guidance and guidelines, respectful communication. We're stressed, our parents are stressed. Sometimes email communication can read, it may not read in the most positive way possible, but you know, we also as educators need to be mindful of that, and we model our positive behaviour, which inshallah will be emulated then by the people who are contacting you. So basically, when all of these elements come together, it is a partnership that's created between school and home that is clear, supportive, and sustainable for the amount of time that we will be doing this. So if we move on to the next slide, which is supporting learning at home, what does this actually look like? And this is where we as educators need to be realistic and also empathetic, because every home environment is different. Some parents are working full time. Some have multiple children. Some may not feel comfortable and confident supporting learning. So our role is not to expect perfection, but to provide that support that is manageable. So routines. We know it in the classroom, but also at home as well. Students thrive on routine. They need that clear start. They need a structured day. They need a predictable rhythm. Boring is necessity in routines right now. So it's just keep that with timetables and so on, and the links for lessons that they're kept as consistent as possible. We will and as you continue, you will establish that routine. It is very unsettled now, but by keeping that in place from the get-go, it is absolutely a huge win for those home school connection. And the learning space, as we well know, not every home has a perfect setup, and that's okay. So we're not asking for perfection, we're not asking for consistency. I would just perhaps recommend that for your families that that you recommend that they have the same learning space each day. It doesn't have to be a broad table with oodles of space. Somewhere the child can work that is minimum, with minimum distraction, and that it stays as consistent as possible. It is that same area day in, day out. Just helpful tips you can send on to your parents. Independence. So parents should not be doing the learning like instead we want to build independence. We had a session with parents last week where again, we did speak about this, but it is something you can also recommend to your parents. We get it. The natural inclination for educators and for parents is to step in and help their child and say, right, I'll do it. This is how you do it. No, even within distance learning, this is where we have the opportunity to develop critical thinking skills. In your teaching slides, have a little note like this, try it yourself. Try these steps A, B, and C, and at least then you're helping develop that child's independence even through a screen. Again, things like small things such as logging in, completing tasks, asking for help, to have so the child can actually try that themselves, because it is important life skills within reason, depending on the child's age. And then, excuse me, finally, manageable steps. I think we need to apply this to ourselves as well as educators. Manageable steps. We know ourselves when learning feels too big, students feel overwhelmed, parents feel it too. They won't want to do it. That creates a big problem for us. So within your lesson, just breaking learning down, it does make a huge difference. So if we move on to the next slide, which is building digital parent community. How do we do that? So there's a big difference between communicating a lot and communicating well. Like I said earlier, think about your quality over quantity. So like I said earlier, it's about, using that one clear platform for your communication. Just consolidate it, just keep it down, because again, if this gets to a point where parents are feeling completely overwhelmed, they're just going to stop engaging altogether, and which will then have that impact on students as well. We can't have that. So the key is simplicity. Keep it as one platform where possible. Keep it clear communication. English is second language for our parents as well as our students. Avoid the long, flowery language. Use your AI tools as well if you're doing something to prompt to say, I need this for EAL parents, English as an additional language parents. And again, proofread everything. I know we're all very busy, but you just have to be mindful of that. Again, the consistency, not constant updates, but predictable ones. Where possible, perhaps agree to have this sent at a particular time of a week as well. And again, parent feedback, they should feel heard, not just informed. Again, that would be through leadership, that if there's forms, polls, so on, that should come from one area. It could be good feedback. If it's not been already done within grade teams, within phase team meetings, that could then be suggested and brought forward. And then support, the ongoing support. Our students are used to using different tools, apps, applications. Lenska is going to show a few quick, easy wins as well shortly. But for our parents as well, where possible, maybe if there could be a location where there could be small guides that are visuals that are sent to parents to help them with technology. Because again, they may not always have the confidence or the knowledge of utilizing a new app. So by just giving them that support, you're actually helping them immensely. So let's go on to the next slide, which is screen time and healthy digital habits. Safety and well-being, digital safety and well-being, especially with us distance learning, is one of the biggest concerns for parents, and it is screen time. We get that anyway when we're face-to-face in school, and this is where we often can see the most anxiety. Parents are worried about how much time their children are spending on their devices, whether it's safe, should they be doing. So we need to, I guess, reframe that. So we as educators shift the conversation from how much screen time to what kind of screen time. Again, quality over quantity. So the expectations as educators, we need to set the clear routines and boundaries. We use the trusted platforms and protect privacy. You only use the approved platforms within your school. That is absolutely essential for the well-being. They have been monitored. They have been with compliance and so on. Stick to that. Supervision, guiding parents to supervise appropriately, the balance as well, promoting breaks, your movement, the offline time, that is as important as online time. And we we model positive behavior as well. So it's not about limiting technology, it's about guiding it, balancing it, using it purposefully, because when it is used well, technology becomes a powerful tool for learning as well. Just be mindful as well, as I said earlier, the ADEC, if you are based in Abu Dhabi, that distance learning policy has got explicit direction on what screen time is allowed per cycle, so essentially per age group. If you are based elsewhere in UAE, I would also, if you have not received guidance on that yet, check in with your grade lead, phase lead, leadership, SLT, and so on, just so you know as well that you're communicating that efficient screen time, which leads to healthy digital habits. And that is it from me. I will now hand over to Lenska. And Lenska, you're just on mute there.
Thank you.
Lenska, there's just a bit of an echo right there.
There we go. That should be better. Sorry, I'm just busy
Beautiful,
monitoring.
you sound perfect.
My Wi-Fi is obviously acting up a little bit, so I was just checking on my other device, as we have 7 million devices normally on a live session, and it was lagging a little bit. So thanks so much for all that extremely useful information, Naomi. I think sometimes just hearing things again and refreshing really helps us just to focus on what's important, and that is the children and their learning. And there's this big debate with teachers. I've been speaking to quite a few coming back into distance learning about, you know, live lessons versus asynchronous lessons. Asynchronous lessons mean pre-recorded lessons, which then give a task for the kids to do, which obviously, depending on the age group, is extremely helpful. So what I've done today is not just give you information on how to communicate properly with your parents, but also ways in which you can create these very beneficial ways to share information, to share your lessons, so it can go either way. You can use these tips for like, for example, you'll see the one in the middle, number 23, keeping parents informed by using short little clips. This is using Apple Clips, but you could use other platforms like Canva. You could use iMovie. You could make a video using any of these platforms to just maybe send a short video to parents rather than a long list of instructions, for example. But I think screen recording your lessons is extremely powerful, and a lot of people don't actually know that this is just integrated within the iPad itself. So I'm going to go through that and jump out of my presentation. If you swipe down on the top right hand corner, you will then get your control center. There you have an option to manage, add controls. The screen record button is that little circle at the bottom. If you do not see that, you can always add a control by pressing the plus button at the top here. And then at the bottom it says add control. Now there you will get a full list of other controls to add, such as screen record, quick notes, flashlights, etc. So you'll see the screen record is over here. I've now added it twice, so I'm just going to remove one. And once you are happy with that, you just click out. Now to screen record, you're going to press down and hold on that button. And currently you'll notice that my microphone is off. So we're going to make sure that that microphone is on, because if it is off and you are busy talking through something on your iPad and talking through a lesson or some slides, then it won't pick up the audio. So just make sure that microphone is on. And once you're ready to start, you can just press start recording. It will count you down. And you can then go into your lesson. So I'm just going to go pretend like I'm going to my keynote, talking through my lesson. Once you have finished and you're ready to show or share with your kids, you can then press the little record button in the top right hand corner, the little red one, click on that and stop your recording. You will notice that it actually automatically goes into your photo library. So at the bottom, it will be the latest one. And here is where you can actually crop the video. So maybe if you had something happening in the beginning or at the end of your video that you do not like and you want to take out, you press on the little edit button in the top right-hand corner. And then you just pull this little toolbar at the bottom to crop your video to where you want it to start and where you want it to end. Once you are happy with that, you just press the yellow check mark in the top right-hand corner and you save your video. Now you've got your refined video clip that you can then share on any learning platforms as a video. Right, the next one I want to really show you, and now I'm going to move past the clips one just because clips is actually not available on all devices anymore. So you might not have it or have access to it, but just to bring your attention to it, that if you do have clips available, it's a great app to use to create short little clips for your students as well as for your parents. But the one I want to show you is creating a PDF from a web page in Safari. Now, Safari is the Apple native browser. So that looks like this. So it's this one over here. If you click on that, it will open up your browser. Now, just bear in mind, this will not work if you are using another internet browser such as Chrome or Firefox. It will only work when you're using Safari. So I'm going to go into a website, Kids National Geographic, for example. Now, there are 2 steps to this that you can use during your live lessons as well as screen recording. So it's really nice to know this trick because you can use it for both. Now, at the top where you see your URL, on the left-hand side, there's a little rectangle with some lines under it. This icon is your reader view icon. Now, this allows you to hide all the distracting images and text on the page that you don't want the children to focus on while you are giving a live lesson. For example, if there's a game busy advertising on the right-hand side, the kids are going to focus on the game. They're going to focus on things that they shouldn't be focusing on, and it makes it that much harder for you to get their attention, right? So we are going to press Show Reader, and what that does is it actually turns your web page into a PDF-like view. And therefore, it keeps the children focused on the content itself and not anything else that's going on around. Now, what's lovely about Reader View is that if you click on that, if the kids do this at home, they can press Listen to Page, which then acts as a teacher, right? So the parents don't have to be involved. The kids can be sitting by themselves, listen to the page, and it reads it for them, which is great. You can actually change the colors. So if there's children with a bit of ADHD that need a bit more focus and the colors might be too distracting or it's hard for them to read, you can change those colors. You can change the font over here, and you can increase the text size. So for kids that are a little bit younger, you can make it really big. And as you see right now, it looks like it is a full screen document. There's no browser. That doesn't look like they're in the browser. So it's really, really helpful for the kiddos to focus on what they need to. Right, now the next step that I'm going to show you is the powerful one, right? Turning this into a PDF document that you can then share on your learning platforms. Because right now it will be hard to share this unless you do multiple screenshots or a screen recording. So I just want to share this page of information about sharks to my students to then carry out another task. So in the top right-hand corner, you'll see the share button. And if you press more and mark up at the end, it now turns your page into a PDF document. So now I'm completely out of Safari. You'll see at the top, it's got the Safari, the date, and there's a little arrow. So currently you'll see it is a document and not in my internet browser. And now you can actually get the kids to highlight, or you could actually annotate on top of this PDF while you are doing an asynchronous lesson and recording it, or your live lesson. So let's say I'm going to use my highlighter. If you click on a certain tool, you can then choose the thickness. You can choose the opacity of the tool. And over here, if you click on the color wheel, you can then choose multiple different colors. So I'm just going to choose that, and then I'm going to highlight as I'm speaking. So really great for English lessons where you may be talking about certain words. You can ask the kids to give you, or there may be some words that they don't understand that you can highlight and revisit later. And the same for the children. If they were doing this, they could highlight things, send it back to you, and you could give them feedback on that. What's great about using markup on this PDF is that you have all the other tools available to you as well. So you could add a sticker. You can actually create your own stickers. So these are little animals that I've taken from photographs that I have, but you could actually take a photo of yourself showing a thumbs up or a confused face or a thinking face, and you could put that onto their work as feedback and send it back to them. You can add text, so you can add written feedback and written text. Signatures and shapes, they could make different shapes. And they can even just draw. So let me just choose a different tool over here. I'll choose my marker pen. Let me take a yellow. I don't understand. So they could even write something to you and they could send it back to you. So very, very powerful, lovely to use during a live session, as well as if you wanted to assign them a task and they can send something back to you. Once you're happy with your PDF and you want to save this to be able to share it, you just click on the blue check in the top right-hand corner, save your file to, and you can choose whether you save it on your iPad or your iCloud. Save that, and then from your files, you can then share that. So to access your files, you go to your blue folder over here, open that up on my iPad, and you'll see it will save as a Safari. You can tap and hold, rename that to maybe the class that you're teaching. So I could say grade 3A. English task, for example. And once you're happy, you can just tap and hold and share that. If you have a learning platform, like for example, Google Classroom is up here, you can send it directly to Google Classroom from your files. Right. So really helpful little tool. And like I said, it's really, you can use it for either live lessons, during live lessons, or asynchronous, up to you. Now, another one I want to show you, which I'm not sure everyone is aware of, but you can actually annotate on a keynote while you are presenting. So currently I'm sharing my keynote with you. And if I tap and hold my screen, you'll see there's a little icon that comes up at the bottom in the center. So there's your little markup tool. You can now choose a color, and you can actually write on your keynote while you are presenting. Again, this could be used while you're screen recording. It could be used while you're doing a live lesson, and very, very powerful. And what's nice about this annotation is that it doesn't save onto your actual slides. So you'll see once I press done, the annotation goes away. If you wanted to, so let me just go back to that slide. If you wanted to save the annotation, so let's say I'm going to write something, circle something, underline it. I want to save this because I don't want to lose the notes that I've made. You can always screen record or screenshot, sorry. So you can just, everyone knows how to screenshot. So I'm just going to lift my iPad up, screenshot that, and then that will save as an image in your photo library. Press save to photos, and you can always access that screenshot again later and share that as evidence for learning for your students. So really nice, because I know there's a lot of platforms that have the annotation, but then it saves onto the slides where you don't always want that going into, maybe if you've got 4 or 5 classes and you want to start fresh and start new. The last one I'm going to share with you today is digitizing handouts. Now, this is very important during distance learning because the teacher might have all the notes, might have the textbook, but you don't have it in a digital version and you're not sure how you're going to share this. So there is a way on the iPad where you can use notes. So if you're not sure, Notes is this app icon over here. If you click on that, and I'm just going to start a new page, which is the little icon up there. Press the arrows to make it full screen. Now, if you look at the top in the center, there's a little paper clip. This is your attachments that you can add to a note. Great tool, by the way, for kids at home. And I just want to focus quickly on something that Naomi was talking about, and it's in terms of screen time and parents being concerned about how much time they're actually spending in front of the screen. Now, there's a difference between content creation and consumption, right? So if they're just sitting in front of a screen, consuming what they're seeing, that's consumption, and that's when the screen time argument comes in. But if they're actually using it for creating content and learning, that's different. So Notes is a great little free app on all iPads, iPhones, that you can use and give to your children. I've done it myself with my child. She's 2 years old. I didn't know what to do with her anymore at this time. So I just opened up my Notes. I just pressed the markup. I got all my tools available, and I just let her explore with different crayons, different tools, and she just went crazy. And that at least saved me another 10 or 15 minutes. And to me, that's creating something. It's not consuming, and it's not watching a video for hours on end. So great to know. So if you click on your paperclip, so I'm just going to minimize my markup tools. You will see that there's a scan documents icon button over there. And this allows you to actually scan a document that you have. So I don't have many, seeing that I'm not in the classroom anymore, but you can just hover your iPad over your document. Let me just find my camera. Okay. I'm going to hold it over my document. You will see that it automatically crops and takes a photo of the document. Once I'm happy with that, it then, let me just try that again. Scan. Turn this page. Okay. You can then click on the document to see how it actually automatically took this photo. If I'm not happy with it, you can then adjust it here by dragging the corners just to make sure that you've only got the document in place. I'm happy with that now, but I want to rotate it. So then I can rotate it, and you can even add a filter. So if you wanted black and white or grayscale or color. Once I'm happy with my PDF document, I can now just go back. I can now press the check mark in the top right-hand corner, and that saves to my note. And what's powerful about this is if you click on the little arrow at the bottom, you can actually now share that PDF, and it just shares the PDF document, not your whole note. So you can share that to any learning platform you have, etc. Or what you could do is you could actually use that, and underneath that, then they could carry on, and they could maybe add, you could record an audio telling the kids what this lesson is about, and you could share the entire note. Okay. So just a few little tips, and what I want to share with you is there's actually 30 of these time-saving tips for teachers. If I had some more time, I would go into a little bit more. But what I've done is, before we move on to questions and answers, I've actually put the QR code for these time-saving tips for you, and you can actually scan this QR code, go into these, and it basically explains to you on each little card how to do these again. So if you maybe got distracted today during the session and you would like to revisit it, or you forgot how, if you just go onto this website, onto this document, and click on one of these top saving tips, it will then show you exactly how to do this again. Okay. Right. Do we have any questions and answers? If you want to ask anything, maybe you want me to show something again, please put it in the chat, and I will be happy to demonstrate it again. So let me just have a look at the chat. If there's anyone. So someone did ask earlier if we could share the slides. Unfortunately not, as that is intellectual property to LN Education, but we are happy to share the recording after the session. So anyone who has registered will get the recording, and you can share that out to your colleagues or your teams to help you. Anything else from your side, Naomi, that you just want to? Okay, I do have one question in the chat. Hi, Rosanna, how are you doing? Thank you for your question. So she just asked if I could show the app with the shark text. So that's actually your internet browser called Safari. So that's that little icon over there. If you're not sure, you can just drag down. So let me go out of that. Go to your Spotlight search and you'll see it should be up there called Safari. So that's your internet browser, or you can just type it in, click on it. Now, I just want to actually thank you for bringing that up, because it's made me think. Not all websites are compatible with your reader view. So if you do not see this little icon and it doesn't allow you to show the reader, just know that unfortunately then that website is not compatible. So a lot of like gaming websites, those kind of things will not have reader view. So currently you'll see that I am in Safari. I'm just going to go to a different web page. For example, I'm going to click on dinosaurs. Let's choose this little guy. And I want to turn this into my PDF. So you just click on that little block with the lines next to the URL. Click on the blue button, show reader, and that turns it into a PDF-like view. You'll see it's also got a summarize. Now that's using Apple Intelligence. So if you do have a device that's got an M1 chip or later, then Apple Intelligence also then summarizes the whole document for you. But unfortunately, a lot of the kids' devices and school devices don't have the M1 chip yet, so that might not be a feature. If you want to share this or save this as a PDF, I'm just going to repeat. Click on the share button from here. Click on more, markup, and you'll see it goes out of the internet browser into the PDF view over here.
I hope everyone is keeping as well as it possibly can be. We did speak about student well-being and safety, but I think as educators, it's extremely important as well that we look out after ourselves, we look out for each other, share good practice, share good tips with each other, and hopefully it will make this journey as comfortable for everyone as possible.
Thank you so much.
And I know it's difficult. There's so many things to juggle, and we appreciate you jumping on and trying to learn and trying to make this whole situation easier for everyone.